Hey, what's up, everybody? Another happy Monday, Bill.
I was hoping you weren't going to say because I was going to. So, what's new in New Mexico? Anything going on new over there in Roswell?
We had snow on Saturday, which is very, very strange. I don't think I have to tell you
Yeah.
that. Excuse me. Yeah. Thanks. So thanks for sending your weather this way.
I will say this: I've been covering the horrific weather in the South and Central states. I personally, on behalf of the station and us here, send our thoughts and prayers to those people affected by those tornadoes and the floods. And I mean, it's really, I was looking at some of the footage and I was doing live coverage of the weather when it was going on. I've been doing this a long time with the weather stuff. I've never seen the outbreak that I was witnessing in real time. All these tornado warnings and flood warnings. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And it wasn't far from you. Texas, Eastern Texas going into Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. It was such a big area, and they just kept getting pounded, Toby, over and over with this weather. So, again, I just want to wish my thoughts and prayers out to those folks over there.
Yeah, I had friends texting me pictures of funnel clouds forming and tornadoes touching down like near their houses. So that was very scary weather. Caused a lot of devastation. So yeah, that's.
You went through something similar, and we'll get into the UAP shortly, but you went something through similar when you were in Roswell, when you had that incredible flooding going on, and you were taking pictures. As a matter of fact, is there any, now that we're talking about this, any latest update about what's going on with the convention center in Roswell? That is not that old at all. It's a beautiful structure and building and facility.
They are currently conducting repairs on it.
They
I
are.
think last I heard, it'll reopen in possibly 2026, 2027.
Oh, wow. So they were able to salvage the convention center.
Yeah, but it's going to need a quite a bit of work.
Right.
Like I said, the water inside the building got up to 5 feet within the structure, and there were people in there that had to be evacuated to the roof and then rescued from there by the fire department.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the staff that we know.
Yeah.
So again, it just happens, freaking nature. But what's going on in the UAP field? I know that there was an article that was posted by the Daily Mail, yes, about a certain document, and we'll comment about some of the reaction of this document afterwards. But if we can have that document put up for a second, that is the one. And allegedly, this is authentic. It was originated in Russia, and it has to do with a Ukrainian incident here in Kyiv. So I don't know if anybody can see this, but I'll just paraphrase. It was after Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved the Soviet Union in 1991, the KGB top secret intelligence administration. A lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA, as reported by the authoritative magazine Canadian Weekly World News. So this was in a magazine back in time. It reported the U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. That's scary in itself, just seeing that. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship was the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. How lovely. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that After freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the sphere grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade, interestingly, and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that the source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, "If the KGI file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." Okay, you can remove that document now. There's so much going on here. First of all, the first thing I think of like we were mentioning this before we came on the air, the authenticity of this, and is this a credible document? Now, you told me that there has been some feedback coming back from people that when they post about this information, I take their word very seriously. So can you get into some of the feedback that was coming back from some sources?
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull up a excuse me, still getting over a cold. I have a post here from John Greenwald. Most people know him for running the blackvault.com. And in his post, he states, "These are not declassified documents. These are from the Foreign Broadcast Information Service, which archived open source intelligence from around the globe that were essentially archived newspaper clippings in text form collected by the CIA. They are often misrepresented on social media as CIA previously classified intelligence that has been declassified, but in reality, it's a newspaper article."
But in the document, it does say that it came from a Canadian magazine or news article, I think, in that document. So it's referred there. They're not stating that that's the actual document. That is a summary of the 250-page documents that was obtained by the CIA. That's a summary. That is not the actual information document. The classified document is 250 pages long. That's just a summary that was contained within the 250 pages.
Yeah, and I think what he's trying to point out, just to kind of, from my interpretation of it, is people don't read into it and say, "Oh, the CIA is saying this definitely happened.
Right.
Aliens were killed by Russians, and then Russians were turned into stone statues." It came from a magazine. Maybe the magazine's reputation is not that good. I'm not sure, but I think that's just what he was wanting to point out. Is it's not the CIA or whoever didn't witness all this and record it. This is something they're reporting on from sources available around the world.
Right. Open source. And one thing, John Greenwald's been doing this for years. And he does an outstanding job with his resource of FOIA and obtaining a lot of information. So kudos to what John Greenwald does. And people can reach their own conclusions on what's posted in the Black Vault or whatever that is. But he does a tremendous job trying to get FOIAs and getting information. And, you know, he has that back and forth at times when things are going on, and it's a challenge to say the least. But I found that interesting, that whole thing. And yes, it was there was an article that was posted on the Daily Mail, and this was April 4th. And it goes into it, and you know how they're going to make it in obviously more exaggerated, because that's what they do. And it's pretty much summarizing what was in that document, that or whatever that was that we just read. And it's referring to a whole bunch of other little things. The petrified soldier's going to be saved, blah, blah. It's just like the same old. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of people may not be familiar with it. There was another really interesting case in Russia. And I'm going to read from an article. I know it was, I believe it was in the 80s. Don't quote me on that. But it was at a lake in Siberia. Again, this is the same area they're talking about. It was military divers in this lake Baikal in Siberia, the world's deepest lake, encountered the Russians, a group of humanoid creatures dressed in silvery suits at the depth of 160 feet. And 3 humans lost their lives in this. It sounds like something out of the abyss.
Yeah, and just to double check, you said the date's April 4th, not April 1st.
Yes, this is not an April Fool.
Okay, just put that out there.
You got me on that. But there have been some interesting cases that happened in Russia. And actually, I'm in communication with, at one point, he was the leading researcher for the UFO department in Russia. So hopefully we can get him on. Right now, he's working on something different. But he did at one point have that position in Russia as the top lead investigator into UFO research. So again, you take this for what it's worth. It's out there. The only thing that makes me concerned is they're showing this as being a malevolent type of extraterrestrial. But again, they're using self-defense because they were fired upon. The Russians made the first attempt to shoot them down with a missile, accidentally, as they say. But you can also say, is this also part of some other agenda-driven narrative that to create fear that we're dealing with malevolent? And, a lot of people, I'm not a conspiracy person, but a lot of people might say this could be like a false flag preface to something.
Well, I mean, I think we've definitely learned, being in this field this long, a lot of, let me try and word this properly, or I'll just come out and say it. A lot of these people pushing that type of narrative are also after government funding, in my opinion. You push a threat narrative, we're going to need technology to battle back against this, right?
True.
So I agree with you. Could they be pushing a narrative that this is, malevolent, as you put it, instead of self-defense? I mean, assuming this whole thing even happened.
Right.
But you would think if there's, space is almost infinite, basically. So I would imagine if there's aliens out there, there's going to be some that are good and some that are bad.
Right. Law of averages. Here's the thing, though. And I think it's very important for people to realize that if there is a threat, it doesn't have to be extraterrestrial in nature. It could be our adversaries. If this is some unknown technology, a breakthrough technology, and we have no defenses against it, regardless of its source, we definitely have to look into this with R&D and funding, because that's what it's always about. It's about the funding. But this could potentially be a major national security threat, regardless of its source. It's something that needs to be addressed. And yes, you're right. There could be people out there putting the extraterrestrial spin on it, as far as being the sourcing of it. But to me, in general, any threat to our national security needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be alien or whatever, but it's always a question of if there's a threat there, we're going to need a way to defend against it.
Yeah.
So now, if you go and give our adversaries a gun or a ray that can just point at people and turn them into limestone, then yeah, you're going to want to be able to have something that can counteract that. Because if not,
or if, let's just say, mistake that it's true, and they said that the object, the craft, crashed and it was retrieved along with these limestone soldiers, the remains. Who's to say they didn't reverse engineer that technology? And like you said, I don't think we would want that kind of technology used on our forces if that was something that was real and practical. I'm just saying. Not saying that it's true, real. I'm just saying that would not be something, like you said, a weapon that we would want them to be utilizing on our troops or our allies' troops.
Yeah, and if there's that, there's no telling, what else. That could be their low-end self-defense, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we'll teach them a lesson, we'll turn them into this, and then the next one comes in and just vaporizes everything. You never know.
So I spoke to our good friend who's going to be our guest potentially next week, Pavel. And Pablo told me that I think today, I haven't checked, it's supposed to be on X and YouTube, that the Skywatcher group is going to be releasing some videos or photos. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to check, but today it may have already been released. But
That's what I'm saying. I haven't checked.
they said they have daytime footage of a Tic Tac that they got to show up multiple times, and they also said that they have footage of a jellyfish type entity, which you remember the jellyfish kind of became a hot topic I think it was last year when that footage over Middle Eastern country was shown of it floating by.
Mm-hmm. That some believe it was a balloon.
Yeah. Mark D'Antonio, we had him on the show actually, I think, right afterwards, and he said it looked like a group of balloons stuck together. But from what I saw, and I just saw clips of this Jake Barber guy talking, and he said they have what they call some dog whistle that they can use, and it 100% of the time gets these things to show up broad daylight. So we'll see what they release, and I mean, honestly, I hope it's something interesting. I just want to know how we got from the point of them being able to summon egg-shaped craft, and have them land. I don't know why why they didn't get that on video. Instead, we're getting whatever this is. So, yeah, I'm all for seeing their evidence. Hopefully it's something good, because if it is, that helps the topic.
All right. Again, this revolves back to the whole thing that's going on. And Pavel told me that now, I guess Representative Luna said that there could be a UAP hearing by the end of summer. That's what Pavel told me. I don't know if that's accurate or not. End of summer. That's a few months away, Toby.
Yeah, I believe I read Saturday she put out a statement where the announcement should be coming soon. It'll be interesting to see, now that they have David Grush working with that committee, who they choose to have come and testify.
But they're all going into the skiff. Lou Elizondo, I mean, there's a few names listed on that. That's is allegedly going to enter a skiff with Luna.
Yeah, they were there, I believe, a week or two ago. Christopher Mellon, Lou Elizondo posted a picture of them with Luna, Burchett, and I believe Burleson. Here's the thing, though. They can go in a skiff all they want and talk. That doesn't mean we're going to hear anything that they talk about in there.
It has to be declassified.
Right. So the public hearing will be interesting in what are they going to do? Are they going to bring witnesses forward? Because it looked like the JFK one they did was just a complete shit show.
All right, hold on. This is what drives me insane. I don't care if you have 300 whistleblowers sitting on the table. I don't care where they're from, what clearance they had, what levels they had, what positions they had. We can hear these different accounts till we're all blue. It's not going to change anything to the general public unless there's some documents associated to it, some images maybe, which don't hold your breath. Video, forget about it. I mean, if they are, we see the videos that have been released in the past and are very questionable to begin with. So I think the public is at a point where they all say, oh, this is building up better for disclosure. Oh, yeah, it's great. It's great to hear these stories, but they're only stories, and you're taking their word as credible individuals that they're assumed to be, which they are, many of them. But the point is, the public is tired of seeing a bunch of people talking. It's like watching a show. They're not revealing anything. They're just talking. It could be anybody, just talking a story without evidence, without anything to back up what they're saying. You think the public cares? And even, Toby, even if they came out with a few documents, people are going to say, question those documents. So even if you even get to that point, a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's probably fake. They're doing this on purpose. They're releasing this. How do we know that document is real? All that. But how do you think and feel about this? It's so frustrating.
I agree with you. And I think also right now with the way the news cycle's going, and I'm not getting political here at all, but there's a lot happening in the world right now that's drawing people's attention elsewhere. Yeah. So I kind of have to agree with you. If they just bring people in to testify, that give their testimony, that's great. But again, it's just testimony at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We need documents, we need scientific evidence, we need, and I'll say it again, the thing that drives me crazy is most of the people in this field don't trust our government, yet they think the government's going to give them disclosure. I don't understand that.
That's how twist of irony that is.
Yeah, because if they're always lying to you, then you think they're going to give you the truth this one time.
How do you know they're not giving you misinformation to run with?
Right. So,
and that's what the public's going to think too.
Yeah, and speaking of evidence, I was just browsing for a post here. Ryan Graves recently gave a talk to the Yale UFO Society, I believe it was. And in it, he says that he has obtained high resolution images of the dumbbell or barbell shaped UFO that's been spotted all over the world. So if you've got them, let's see them. That's the kind of stuff I think people want now.
But even if we hit that stage, a lot of people are going to say that's AI generated, that's been altered. Is that real? You know that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been, it's like the public is so frustrated with the lack of information across the board on anything. This topic makes no difference than any other thing that's out there as far as the mistrust. Absolutely no difference. You better come to the table. If you're going to bring people and their reputations and their testimony, you better have something to back up what they're saying. Because people are now going to doubt, even though they can be the most credible people. People are going to doubt them because there's nothing to back up what they're saying. I mean, does that make any logical sense for people to put their own personal issues on the line as far as what is this going to do to me, my credibility, my family, the attacks, all the people, coming after me? I mean, for what? To have nothing to back up what I'm saying? I would never do something like that. I better have some evidence to collaborate my story, because it is just a story until you see evidence associated to it with it. It's like I'm not putting myself out there unless something is released, like Robert Salas. He knows, and we've spoken to him. He knows that there's information that they're holding back, classified, regarding what happened at Maelstrom. And he's willing to testify. But what good does it do if they don't release and declassify? This is something that happened 50 years ago on a base. What's the issue? What is the issue? Where can't they release, Toby, at least the radar that was at the time that Minutemen were having issues, and they were having, let's just say they were pretty much shut down. They malfunctioned, 10 of them. And it happened a week before, approximately, at another location nearby. You're telling me that they have to have the time in the books when this happened, report. Where's the data that shows what the soldiers allegedly seen above ground hovering over the base? You tell me that there's no radar data associated to it? That they can't come up with some more information to release the public? They don't have to. They can give out simple, and even Lou has mentioned this. There's way to mask and cover the important areas of anything that they were to release if they had video or data to show. They can like redact it on a video as well. There's no reason that they can't release that. Why it just, Toby, it gets me crazy.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. And this whole committee is the committee on, what is it, truth and declassification. They had the JFK hearings because a bunch of documents were declassified. Mm-hmm. Why are you having UAP hearings? Are you about to declassify a bunch of UAP info?
But didn't she say something about that though? But didn't Luna say that in general after this all, that the UAP was brought up at the end when she initially announced the announcement of these documents that were going to be coming out? And like I said, there's other references to other areas that she was investigating as well to release documents. like you mentioned JFK, and there are others. But then the UAP one did come up as well. So this is on the radar. But as you said, there's so many other priorities going on right now that takes precedent to that. So that's why that's being pushed, of course, because it should, as not the main thing right now, because they're dealing with more serious issues right now. But we shall see. Like, we know that there's documentaries that are released all the time, and one is more, they have more witnesses, they have more information being, but I don't want to see GI recreations, I don't want to see illustrations, I want to see actual evidence. And I know I don't speak alone when I address this. I know the vast majority of the public believes this too. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're at that point, honestly. Most people will say, look, this has been 80 years of this. Where's the proof? And who's to say there aren't things out there in the public domain that people have written off as being fake that are authentic? That's something that I think about quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, if they really want the hearings to have a big impact, they come out and say, here's new, declassified, like you said, redact whatever parts of it they have to. Show us some video of these things doing actually unexplainable maneuvers, your 5 observables, for example. Because you have like the gimbal video, tic tac, go fast, but did they really wow anybody? Was that really, I mean, they were interesting, but could you imagine like the long rumored video or picture of the triangular craft coming out of the water right next to a fighter jet? That seems like that would move the needle some.
Yeah.
Or the 23-minute video that Lou Elizondo's always talking about, where stuff is, basically it's like out of Star Wars. You present something like that to the public, and then I think you could really captivate people, and I think that would really hold their attention.
And you just brought up a great point. Hold their attention. This is something important I need to be paying attention to now. I mean, that you have to give people something that they can grasp and say, oh my gosh, is this possible? Not that in 3 days, they turn their attention to the next news cycle and the next thing that's big, and they totally forget about what just happened, because it's not going to be impactful. It's not going to have that grasp. It's not going to have that grip on them unless it's something that they talk about with coworkers and friends and family. Did you see that video? Did you see that image? Not like they say testimony and then a billion podcasters spend time analyzing and whether they agree or disagree, and some just downright going after them to destroy them and their credibilities, for their own reasonings. That's not what this is about. This is about getting the truth, disclosure to the public, not just talking about breaking down each individual. Oh yeah, did you hear what he said? That he was at a base and he noticed that this was happening and something arrived on a truck and it was covered with a tarp and it looked like they were carrying boxes that were 3 feet out, but they weren't ordinary crates. It looked like they were some kind of mechanism to keep something biological inside. Who cares? It's fascinating. Wow. But without us having any evidence, it means nothing. Nothing until we have something to collaborate it and say, well, guess what? Look at this document that occurred at this time. Even a document helps. This is what was coming in from such and such base, arrived at this base, and the cargo, as was described as, at least give us something. And you can redact all the, like you said, but give us something. The public is never going to buy this at all. Period. I don't care who talks, who says, what story, until, like you said, science is applied. Science is important. Data matters. That is vital. And give us some evidence. The debate about the evidence being true or not, that's totally a different step. But to continue this process of having multiple witnesses with nothing to back it up, and then they're attacked, their credibilities are questioned, and then you know what? Everything that you just did is worth nothing because nobody believes not a word. I won't say nobody. A lot of people are going to say, well, we can't trust this. It's coming. We can't trust this.
Yeah, and I think if you look too at the timing of things, okay, when Grush came out and then they did those hearings several months later with him, Favor, and Graves, that was big. People were talking about that afterwards. I had people at work talking about that hearing that normally don't even discuss the topic. Fast forward now to the latest round of hearings we had where I think it was Elizondo, Schellenberger, the guy from NASA, and I forget who the other person was. Yeah. That the UFO community, I heard talking about that. The general public, crickets. So I kind of wonder if the timing. I kind of feel like if they would have followed up with something really impactful right after that first hearing, maybe that might have been enough to kind of keep the public engaged. But these last hearings, and then, like you said, the news cycle right now is insane. No matter what part of the political spectrum you're on, people are watching headlines and they're changing every 5 to 10 minutes. And it's important things that are happening in the world, really impactful stuff. So
when you see these hearings and you see it's on some side room, it's not even like the big main area where they would have the bigger hearings at. It's like some little room on the side. And then you have a handful of representatives from both parties there. It's like you see that they're not even taking it serious. It looks, the public, in order to get the public's attention, even in that situation, you got to bring some of the names that people recognize in government, like from both parties, questioning, like the majority leader, the heavy hitters. The heavy hitters need to be there. They need to make this a bigger issue when they're doing these hearings. Not like, who is that? I don't even know who that is. Who is that representative? That could be somebody that just won the election and they're in office now, a junior representative or a junior senator or whatever it is. But it's like, how could you take this even serious looking at the type of hearing this is? Because they're not even taking it serious. Where are all the people, the Gang of Eight, and the people that sit on these committees that are on the top levels of being in those committees, the armchair, whatever it is? Where are they? It's like a handful. It's a few hours long. End of story. And it's like I said, it looks like some side room they found somewhere. It's not even. How does the public even take something like that serious if they're not showing that they're serious and engaging in this in a hearing? The hearing could be great. It could be, but like you said, the people who are interested in the field, they're definitely paying attention and watching. But what about the public? How you get their attention? By having a hearing like that? No, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
I mean,
make it prime time. Do it something where people could see it when they get home. A lot of people are working. Maybe they record it on C-SPAN or whatever. But dude, this is terrible. It's just the whole way this thing is working out is not the way if they really, really, really wanted to get this serious to the public, they could do it a better way. That's what I'm saying.
I agree, and I apologize for the vacuuming sounds everybody's probably hearing right now.
Oh, I got my mom coming in and out too. That's why you see me going like this. I had that kind of issue too going on.
So my house is always a madhouse on Mondays. Yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, to me, if you really wanted to break this whole thing open, you have every single channel at once broadcasting them, bringing out a body, bringing out a craft, right? Because even then, there's going to be that percentage of people that are going to say, "Oh, this is fake. This is not real. This is fake."
Right.
So I had a friend that would always say, in her opinion, the only way you would be able to truly prove this to someone is it'd be like a zoo exhibit. You know what I mean? Where,
oh my gosh,
and it's horrible as it sounds, but if people could go and see and interact with these beings or whatever they are one-on-one, that's probably how you convince them. And I mean, to do that's not possible. And who's not to say on some other planet out there they don't have a Bill clone sitting in the zoo telling people jokes? I mean,
well, with that comes all kinds of biohazards to them or to us. Close contact. I mean, it has to be definitely in a controlled situation. If they're biological in nature, that there is, it's a hazard to it and to us. So there's all kinds of issues on that alone. But getting back to this, dude, I don't see any way. I don't care. I mean, I can't say I don't care. Like you said, it'd be very interesting to hear what they have to say. I'll be fascinated to hear the specific details of something I may have never heard before. Like, well, that's new. Are they going to reveal information like, yeah, it happened at such and such place at such and such time, involving such and such? They're not going to get into like real specific details because a lot of that is classified. So, hey, give us something. Look, Toby, what's the percentage of people that believe that we never landed on the moon? There's a percentage out there.
yep.
Or that the earth is flat. There's a percentage out there. But at least let's see where the public sits. When you put something out there, let's not get ahead of ourselves and make a judgment on the reaction of the public until it's out there. And let's see where it goes. But it better be good. It better be something substantial. And it better be something that can be followed up with even more evidence to back up that initial evidence. It just can't be, unless you roll it all out at once.
So, agreeing with you, and here's something I find interesting, okay? The Nazca mummies, everybody knows, they're the tridactyl beings with the 3 fingers. More and more evidence is piling up that they may be authentic bodies. Now, I'm not saying alien, extraterrestrial, anything like that. That could be physical evidence of something that's not human, possibly from here or whatever. And do you see that capturing anybody's attention in the mainstream media?
Not at all.
Not at all. Not
Zero.
at all.
They probably don't even know about it.
That's what I'm saying. So, it's really tricky. What evidence could they possibly bring out? Like you said, it's got to be something explosive. It's got to actually just wow people. And like I said, it's got to captivate them and maintain their attention. So
absolutely. And you're still that's why I brought up the lunar landing and the other thing, is because you're always going to have to deal with that percentage of people that are going to just call it out as being fake.
I was just told the other day by my friend, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but do you really think we landed on the moon? I said, yeah. And he's like, oh, no.
And that is because of all the mistrust of government in itself. A lot of that stems from that, because everything is so conspiracy driven across the line. But regardless, you cannot control the reaction of the public, but it's your duty to put that out there and let them judge for themselves about the stuff you put out there, especially if you know it's true. Then you're doing your part to be transparent. So that, even, I mean, it's such a complicated situation. It really is, because you would love to, because you have to protect national security. You have to. And I know people don't like to hear that, but there's certain things that we need to protect for our own reasons in the military industrial complex or whatever else, the technology that's used to access and get this data and information. We don't want to reveal that to the adversary or even to our allies. We always want to be, so it's a really difficult situation. But again, I personally love hearing the stories. Like if I was watching something on TV, a sci-fi movie, because to me, it's just like a sci-fi movie until I know, I didn't know this was based on a true story. I saw another thing that showed the images and the documentation to back this up. I'm just saying, if it was a sci-fi movie, it's based sometimes they say based on true events. Or, I mean, now Steven Spielberg's making a movie up here, Disclosure. That's the title, the last title. I wonder if he's going to be discussing some of the stuff that's going on right now, and he's focused on that, and he's going to bring maybe, Toby, maybe this could be a good way from a Hollywood movie, but we don't know about the Hollywood movies, how exaggerated. Ask Travis Walton, that's anybody, when their stories are depicted. But maybe this could be a good way for the public to see what's going on and say, those that may not know, now all of a sudden they have an interest in it because of his movie. You know, we'll see. You never know. It could happen like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like when Jaws came out, the focus became the threat of the great white shark.
Yeah, don't go swimming.
So maybe Disclosure, a movie based on Disclosure, could have the same effect on the public. Like, I need to look more into this, especially if he puts at the end of the movie about what's happened ever since the last few years, and he puts like information. You know how they had the scroll in 2017, and currently there's hearings, and the public will be like, oh wow, maybe I need to look into this more. He might do better for Disclosure than what they're doing right now in hearings to bring the spotlight on it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Would that be crazy? But it's very possible.
Yeah, and I mean, people always talk about too, you know, the government has had a hand in shaping how these things are presented in movies, advised on different movies about extraterrestrials and things like that. So,
look, Close Encounters, a lot of people know. J. Allen Hynek, cameo. I mean, Spielberg had a lot of conversations with a lot of people when he was developing that movie. Who knows what he's up to in this one? And I'm not sitting here trying to publicize and promote his new project. All I'm saying is, as silly as it sounds, a movie like that could put a lot of focus and attention on the subject matter, rather than these documentaries that have gazillion witnesses pretty much saying the same thing, but maybe at a higher standard of level of where they were in a position. But still, it is a story until proven by evidence in a public hearing with their hand raised under oath. Then we're talking some serious stuff, because I can't stand it. I cannot discuss that. That's classified. We can have a meeting behind closed doors after whenever appropriate.
it's a dog and pony show.
Oh, it drives me nuts, and so much of it happens. I can't discuss that. It's classified. I can discuss that in behind closed doors. Or so what's the sense? The public has no, and the public is, after a few of those, the public is like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not watching this no more. This is a clown show. This is a nothing burger here. This is not a waste of my time. I won't even DVR this. I'm not even recording.
So hypothetically, let's say you were in charge of the next hearings, you had to call 3 witnesses. Who would they be?
Oh my God! But are we talking direct military witnesses, pilots, or are we talking about the whistleblowers? Like
anything you want.
Oh my dude, that's a loaded question, dude. I mean, okay. And all right, let's put it this way. Let me add a little to that. And they can be totally protected about talking about certain classified stuff. Because if they're not able to talk about classified stuff, it doesn't matter who you bring. Because I would love to hear more of what Lou knows. I do. I really want to know what he really knows. But he can't talk about it. He always says, I can't. I mean, I would love the people that Grush referred to come forward. That he said that third party, like, I knew people that did this and seen this, and I would love to see those people come forward. The people that are directly involved in this stuff. To me, the messenger is important, but the people that are directly involved are more important. You know what I'm saying? Grush, I tell you, I give David Grush a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit because it took a lot of courage to do that. Not only that, you know, They dug and released personal stuff. They tried to destroy this man. They tried to destroy his credibility. It was, and who knows who released that information out to the public? Do we have an answer of that to this day? Who was responsible of leaking that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I know the journalist that put out what I think you're talking about was definitely tipped off where to look.
Okay. So, to me, he said really, because there's been other kind of, if we look back in Greer's 2001 disclosure in DC, there's been other instances where people came forward. But I also think that other people that may have come forward said, no way. Not after we just seen what he went through. I'm not putting myself sitting down to go talk about what I know or seen or heard and go through the same thing they're putting this poor guy through. I'm not doing it. Toby, I'm not doing it. Because, I mean, even Lou said that, he's been intimidated, threatened, all kinds of stuff. Why would you want to do this if that's what your life is going to turn into? Why? Why would you do that? For what? And then it would be worth it if you had, like I said before, I'm not saying a freaking word unless I know that there's documents or something associated to what I'm saying, so I don't look like an idiot, like I'm just making stuff up. I want something to back it up. Otherwise, don't call me.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because, like you said, they say they were threatened, they had their reputations attacked, and then people in their own community, they think the UFO people want to hear this stuff. A lot of them turned on them too.
Yeah.
So it's almost like one of those you can't win type situations.
You can't. The bottom line is, and I can't emphasize this more, unless they have evidence to back up what anyone is saying, I don't care who it is, at any hearing in the future, unless you show the public something that ties in to show that there is truth behind what they're saying. And like I was mentioning, you're always going to have a percentage that are going to say this is fake, this is deep state, this is this, that. You cannot, that's going to happen. But my gosh, don't just have them sitting there talking about a story and you can't back it up with anything to show the public. I mean, they're going to say, same old, same old. This is BS. Why am I even wasting my time? There's nothing new here. I didn't see no new evidence. I didn't see no new video. They have, in general, there's a short attention span. You need to keep them engaged. You need to make them say, whoa, now that's like this egg thing. A lot of us were like, that's the big deal? We waited, hyped up for that? This? Really? This is the big hype? I mean, I would rather they hold on to stuff until they get something that is undeniable, like, this is it. This is the game changer. You know what I mean? I would never release anything like that that's going to make people laugh about it.
They overpromise and underdeliver seems to be a huge problem.
And I say it all the time. When they do things like that, it does more damage than good in general with the public because they're laughing at it. Like, did you see that? It looked like a Mork and Mindy thing.
Yeah, that's exactly. People were making so many jokes about it, and
that's what you don't want to happen because that puts us backwards instead of going forward. That's like 2 steps backwards because now it becomes a laughing stock. And look, they thought this was real. This is so ridiculously fake. That's what people are going to say. This is a joke. This is supposed to impress us and be like, wow, this is the one. It's some kind of an extraterrestrial or whatever origin. What's the word, the acronym? Non-intelligent. What's the acronym? NIH.
Non-intelligent.
It's that
non-human intelligence.
Yeah, that's it.
Non-intelligent humans.
Yeah, whatever. And it's like that's what that is. Well, an ordinary person will say, like, what the heck is that? What is this now? Like psionics. What is psionics? What's remote viewing? I mean, they come up with, do you know what I mean? It's like new phrasing telepathy. It's been going on for decades.
Yep.
What about that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats? It's like this has been going on for decades.
They filmed that here.
Did they? In Roswell?
Yeah.
So, I mean, give me something, please. Just give me something. Give me a document. Look, what we showed on the screen earlier. It's just but if they had the real documents that they're putting out to the public, it's like, well, look, now let's analyze this. Let's read into this. They put this as an official document released today at a hearing. This is our first actual document, unredacted, that they released regarding UAP. Now we can have a little discussion. And to the person that was involved with it, that was one of the people on the panel of the hearing, wow, this goes into detail about this person's role. Maybe there's stuff that they don't want the public to know about their role. You know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or if
because now people are going to say, well, you knew this whole time and you didn't say a word. But I can't. It's classified. I can go to prison for that. But you could have, and you could have risked your freedom to get the truth out to the public. You know, all kinds of stuff like that's going to happen. Though that's people are going to put them on the spot. It's really a lose-lose situation for them, because even if they come forward, well, why didn't you say anything? Oh, because I went to prison. Well, don't you think the truth is more important than your freedom?
Yeah, who's going to bite that bullet? Give up your whole life?
And then again, and here's the thing, but maybe you talk to the president, maybe he'll pardon you. What about that? You get a pardon. You come out with the truth, but the president pardons you. Because you got especially for transparency, you got the truth out to the public. And the president pardons you for doing it. A service to your country. It's a truth. That's what I think. I'm done, because we only got a few minutes. I'm sorry. I went on a rant. I apologize.
We needed it. We needed people fired up, Bill, and you're just the man for the job.
Dude, no, but come on. Don't you feel the same way? Come on. The frustration, the lack of information, the lack of evidence.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, that's why we just rely on what we've experienced and seen with our own eyes, to kind of give us an idea of what's out there. So I've often said maybe the truth comes from the public itself. I
agree. Anyway, we're, I think, ready to wrap up this happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
And we'll be back next week, and hope everybody has a wonderful week. And hopefully we'll get some information soon. Real information. Evidence.
And I will point out that our producer chimed in when we were talking about the moon landing. And said, you guys really think we landed on the moon? LOL.
That's a conversation for when this show wraps in about 30 seconds, folks. We're going to have that conversation with them.
Run.